The wrestling world stood frozen in a rare and collective moment of reverence as Hulk Hogan's final resting place was quietly unveiled, not with spectacle or pageantry, but with solemn grace and overwhelming emotion. It was a moment that went beyond wrestling, a global reckoning with the end of an era. Days after the heartbreaking announcement of Hulk Hogan's passing, whispers began to circulate of a private burial site tucked beneath the canopy of a weathered oak tree in a secluded Florida cemetery. Fans had long speculated where such a titan of the ring would be laid to rest. Some imagined a statue beside the WWE Performance Center, others envisioned a marble tomb within a dedicated WWE Hall of Fame sanctuary. Instead, what the world discovered was far more intimate and human, a simple grave etched into white Vermont marble, marked only with his name, birth and death dates, and the iconic words that defined a generation: train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, believe in yourself. The setting was raw, humbling, and undeniably powerful. It lacked the fireworks and theatrics that had once defined Hogan's entrances, and yet it offered something far greater: truth, reflection, and unfiltered legacy. As news of the grave's location leaked, fans began arriving not with chants and signs but with reverence in their hearts and tears in their eyes. They brought memorabilia, yellow headbands, hand-drawn sketches, toy championship belts, and silent tributes to the man who had helped shape their childhoods and inspire their resilience. Some stood in tears, others quietly whispered prayers or stories, and one child, barely 7, stood beside his father and softly said, "That's the man who made me love wrestling," while his father, masked behind sunglasses, wiped away a single tear. The burial itself had taken place in utmost privacy. A fleet of black SUVs arrived with no fanfare, delivering WWE's greatest icons in solemn procession. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Roman Reigns, John Cena, and even the elusive Stone Cold Steve Austin emerged from their vehicles with red roses in hand, each man stepping forward one by one to place his offering atop the grave. No eulogies were spoken, no cameras rolled, just the rustle of leaves and the faint sound of grief. It was said the Undertaker lingered the longest, kneeling to whisper something known only to the soil. Perhaps it was a prayer, perhaps a vow, or perhaps just a goodbye to the brotherhood that bound them all. The moment transcended titles, rivalries, and decades of scripted feuds. These men weren't characters or champions here, they were family, united in mourning for the man who built the house they all wrestled in. For many, this was not just the burial of a colleague or friend, but of the very soul of wrestling. Drone footage captured glimpses of the ceremony from high above, offering fans around the world a fleeting chance to witness the farewell. Though some criticized the exposure, others clung to it as their final connection to a man who had always been larger than life. WWE later clarified that the brief footage had been sanctioned by the Hogan family as a gesture of closure to the millions who had ridden the waves of Hulkamania. As the gates of the cemetery once again closed to the public, tributes poured in from every corner of the globe. Fans from Tokyo lit candles in his honor. In London, artists painted murals of Hogan's most iconic poses. In Brazil, entire wrestling promotions dedicated match nights to him, wrestlers clad in red and yellow as they fought beneath banners that read, "Obrigado, Hulk Hogan." The grave became more than a final destination, it became a sacred shrine. A bronze bench was placed nearby with one word engraved upon it: brother. For Hogan, that word had always been more than a catchphrase. It was a declaration of unity, a lifelong promise of inclusion. Visitors lingered not just to mourn, but to reflect and give thanks. One elderly man, wrapped in a sun-bleached Hulkamania t-shirt from the 80s, came each morning with a thermos of coffee and a folding chair. He had survived cancer twice, and the words, "Never give up, brother," had stayed etched on his hospital mirror through every treatment. He didn't come to cry, he came to say thank you. The WWE, usually a machine of high-octane production, took a different approach. No spotlight, no scripted nostalgia. Instead, they assembled a documentary titled Immortal, built on quiet footage, real interviews, and moments of pure sincerity. One segment lingers on the marble headstone as dusk falls, capturing Randy Orton in a silent salute, a gesture lasting only seconds yet weighted with unspeakable emotion. Another shows Sasha Banks leaving a golden feather at the grave in tribute to Hogan's flamboyant boas. Cody Rhodes visited too, leaving a handwritten letter at the site, reportedly detailing how Hogan's influence and his father Dusty's stories about Hogan shaped his own career. The most unexpected tribute came from Vince McMahon himself. Unaccompanied and shrouded in a dark coat, he spent nearly 30 minutes at the grave in silence before tucking a framed photo beneath a nearby stone, a picture of himself and Hogan backstage at WrestleMania I, signed on the back with the words, "We changed the world." As weeks passed, the graveyard became a gathering place of reflection rather than spectacle. Makeshift tributes sprouted, championship replicas, crayon drawings by children, red and yellow bandanas fluttering in the breeze. WWE stewards, often former staff and devoted fans, rotated in shifts to gently guide visitors, clean the grounds, and offer tissues or quiet companionship. They witnessed moments that would never be televised. A woman whispering thanks for helping her survive a divorce, a veteran tracing Hogan's name with trembling fingers, and children asking their parents to tell them who Hulk Hogan was. The story grew even more profound when WWE obtained Hogan's final voice message, recorded weeks before his death. "If you're hearing this, brother," he said, "then I've stepped out of the ring for the last time. But don't you dare think I'm gone. I'm just backstage now, cheering you on." That message became the emotional heart of a mortal, paired with footage of his iconic slam of Andre the Giant, his WrestleMania victories, and his private visits to fans backstage. When the documentary aired, it shattered streaming records, not because of production flair, but because it offered something rarely seen: honesty, vulnerability, legacy. More tributes followed. A candlelight vigil in Australia as "Real American" played. A ring in Mexico City decked out in Hogan colors. In South Africa, tribute matches raised funds for charity. Then came the letter, a red envelope marked, "To my fans. Open after I'm gone." Read aloud by John Cena during SmackDown, the letter declared, "You gave me more than I ever gave you. Hulkamania wasn't about me. It was always about you." Fans were left in tears. It was the ultimate acknowledgement, the truest passing of the torch. The grave began to evolve, a sacred place enriched with etched quotes along a circular path surrounding it. "To all my little Hulksters, keep dreaming big. Let me tell you something, brother." At its heart, a new engraving appeared, "Forever Immortal." That phrase swept across WWE platforms. WrestleMania 41 opened not with explosions, but with Hogan's image in silence. Over 90,000 fans stood still. No chants, just reverence. The Performance Center in Orlando launched the Hogan Initiative, a program aimed at teaching new wrestlers not just how to perform, but how to lead, to care, to inspire. A mural now greets new trainees showing Hogan not in combat but comforting a sick child with the quote, "Strength isn't how hard you hit, it's how much you lift others up." The tributes stretched across time and space. Social media was flooded with heartfelt stories, old fan photos, letters, and videos. The spirit of Hogan, his presence, had moved from the spotlight to the sacred. Visitors whispered to the stone, not as if it were a monument, but a listening friend. Some prayed, some talked, some simply sat. The phenomenon of fans engaging with the grave drew attention from psychologists, but to those who had grown up living and breathing Hulkamania, it wasn't about science. It was about loyalty. It was about a connection that didn't end with death. It was about carrying his message forward. Because while graves may signify endings, legends like Hulk Hogan teach us that some voices never go silent. They echo in our hearts, in the stories we tell, and in the strength we find when we remember their words. As the oak tree sways above his final resting place, the winds whisper not of finality, but of legacy, as if asking one more time, "What you gonna do, brother, now that I'm gone?"